Have you ever felt lost and lonely, wandering empty streets with nowhere to call home, when the very person meant to protect you is the one pushing you away? This is the story of Chimma, a boy taken from his village by his uncle. For 7 long years, he served him honestly and faithfully, only to be betrayed, accused of stealing, and cast out to starve, to be destroyed, to die alone in the harsh streets. Then one day everything changed. A terrible crash on the expressway left a young girl bleeding and barely alive. Without hesitation, Chimma lifted her with all his strength, flagged down a kiki, and raced her to the hospital. He spent all his savings, every naira he had, just to save her life. But what happened next changed his world forever. Watch this video for the full story. Like, share, and subscribe to watch more videos like this every week. Let's dive in. Inside the cramped, dim room, bloodstains darken the worn floor. The walls remain untouched, but the ground tells the harsh story. The woman shivers violently, her body trembling from fever and cold alike. She coughs hard, cough, 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 each cough drawing soft blood from her lips, which drips slowly and stains the floor beneath her. Her chin is wet with fresh streaks. Her skin burns hot, yet her hands shake with cold. Sweat beads on her forehead and clings to her damp hair. She leans forward slightly, clutching her chest as if the pain inside weighs heavy on her breath. Her breathing is shallow and fast, as if each inhale is a struggle. A young son, no more than 9, kneels at her side. He carefully wipes the blood from her lips with a cloth, then gently cleans the floor beneath her, soft and steady. "Mama, please, it will be okay," he whispers, voice tender. "Don't worry, Mama. I'm here." He rubs her back slowly in soothing circles, trying to chase the pain away with his small hands. The woman gasps between coughs, voice dry and weak. It's hard, my son." Suddenly, the door bursts open, nearly hitting the wall as another son runs in fast, breathless, eyes wide but hopeful. He doesn't shout but speaks urgently, joy barely contained. "Mama, I have the tablet now. This is your tablet." He kneels beside her, placing the medicine carefully into her trembling hand. Then he dashes to the corner, grabs a cup of water, and returns swiftly. Gently, he lifts it to her lips. She swallows slowly, her fingers trembling as she takes the tablet. Her breathing remains heavy, her chest rising and falling with effort. The coughing lessens, the bleeding slows, but the fever still burns in her skin, and her body trembles lightly. The son leans closer, wiping sweat from her face. "Just hold on, Mama. You'll feel better soon. Please rest now." The younger son, still by her side, adds softly, "We're right here. We're not going anywhere." They stood there with their sick mother, fighting her illness together. Outside, the night pressed close, endless and heavy, like it would never break. After some time, the mother finally fell asleep, her breathing soft and even. The eldest son rose quietly, careful not to wake her, and stepped outside the small room. He lowered himself onto the doorstep, his shoulders heavy with weariness. It was close to morning now. The first light of dawn stretched gently across the sky, chasing the night away. He sat there thinking, eyes fixed on the fading darkness, his mind carrying memories heavier than his small frame. It had been 5 long years since Mrs. Idioma, Chimma's mother, fell sick with tuberculosis. But the family's struggle began much earlier. 7 years ago, their father had died suddenly in a car accident, leaving behind his wife and 2 sons with nothing but grief and hardship. To keep food on the table, Mrs. Idioma took up a teaching job at the village school 6 years ago. She was a classroom teacher, respected, patient, and deeply loved by her students and her community. But fate was not kind. Only a year later, her health began to fail. Tuberculosis sank its claws into her body. The school authorities, fearing the sickness might spread, asked her to stop teaching. From then on, everything changed. Her coughing grew harsher, deep, tearing fits that brought up blood. Fever burned through her body, leaving her weaker by the day. Soon she could no longer walk far, nor sit up for long. Because of this, Chimma became her main caretaker, carrying the weight of the home on his young shoulders. When he was out working, his younger brother, just 9 years old, stayed faithfully at her side, trying to calm her when the coughing fits came. Their house became their whole world, small, silent, and filled with waiting. Meanwhile, Chimma worked without rest, doing farm jobs, carrying loads, and running errands just to provide for his mother, his little brother, and himself. It wasn't easy, but this was what it meant to be the eldest son. This was what it meant to carry responsibility. He sat on the doorstep lost in deep thought, the silence pressing in on him. When at last he looked up, the day was already well underway. Slowly he rose, walked back inside, and picked up his hoe and cutlass. Without a word, he headed for the farm. There, under the harsh sun, he bent his back to the soil, working until his muscles screamed. By evening, tired but determined, he went to another farm nearby and cut down a bunch of ripe plantains. Carrying it carefully, he returned home, went to the kitchen, and prepared food for his mother and younger brother. Ever since Mrs. Idioma's illness, life had been reshaped for Chimma. Each morning, before the sun had fully risen, he went to labor in other people's fields, earning what little he could. At the same time, he tended his own small patch of land, making sure there was always something to put on the table. Slowly, people in the village came to know him as one of the strongest and most hard-working boys around. Whenever farmers needed an extra hand, they called on Chimma, because they knew he would give his all. This was his life now, a world built on quiet sacrifice, endless labor, and love that never let go. Under the scorching sun, Chimma wiped the sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. The heat pressed down on him, heavy and relentless, as he bent low to cut the tall grass on the farm. Every movement felt slow and tiring, but he kept going. This was the only way he could provide for his mother and younger brother, both depending on him. Suddenly, the roar of a powerful engine broke through the quiet hum of nature. Chimma paused and looked up. A sleek, dark, tinted 2019 Toyota Avalon rolled smoothly down the dusty road and stopped right in front of the farm. The car's polished body glistened in the sun, the tinted windows hiding the black leather seats inside. Chimma's eyes widened as he admired the vehicle. Such a fine car, he thought. Will I ever have something like that? What would it feel like to live a better life? Just then, the door of the car opened, and a tall, well-dressed man stepped out. His face was lined with years of experience, but his eyes held a mixture of curiosity, concern, and kindness. Chimma's heart skipped. It was Chief Emeka, his uncle, someone he hadn't seen in 5 long years. Chimma, is that you? Chief Emeka called, his voice soft but steady. Chimma stood upright, brushing the grass from his hands. Yes, uncle, it's me, he answered respectfully. Chief Emeka paused for a moment, surveying the scene. He had been told someone was on the land, and now he saw a young boy working under the blazing sun. Something about him looked familiar, yet he wasn't sure at first. Then his gaze sharpened as recognition flickered. He stepped closer, scanning Chimma's weary but strong frame. Let me guess, you are 15, right? You should be 15 by now. Why are you not in school? He asked gently, a mixture of surprise and concern in his tone. Chimma lowered his head, swallowing hard. Uncle, Mama has been very sick for a long time. She can't work or teach anymore. I have to take care of her and my younger brother. This is how I provide for them. A shadow of sorrow crossed Chief Emeka's face as he listened. Then, the pieces fell into place. Ah, so this farm, he began, his voice softening. Chimma hurried to explain. The man who owns this farm isn't the one who gave me the job. It was his brother. But I work here to earn money to feed my family. Actually, I'm the one who sent the man to hire you to weed this land. I didn't know it would be you. I just came to check on my property, and now I see it's you. You've grown so much. Strong and diligent, just like my late brother. Chief Emeka placed a heavy hand on Chimma's shoulder, his grip firm yet gentle. I didn't expect to find you here like this. 5 years have passed since I last saw you. And now you're standing here, taking care of your family. I am proud of you, but I wish it hadn't had to be under such hardship. Chimma's tired eyes flickered with hope. Thank you, Uncle. Then, with a remorseful sigh, Chief Emeka said, I think we have to discuss many things. I haven't seen your family for a long time. I will come back this evening, get ready. Before stepping back toward the car, Chief Emeka pulled some money from his pocket and pressed it into Chimma's hand. Use this to help them. Chimma's face lit up with a rare, bright smile. Thank you, Uncle. The uncle climbed into the dark, tinted 2019 Toyota Avalon, the engine purring softly as it pulled away, leaving a trail of dust behind. For a moment, Chimma stood still, the sweat dripping from his brow, feeling the heat of the sun and the weight of his responsibilities, but also a spark of something new inside him. Unable to contain his joy, he jumped and leapt, his spirit momentarily soaring above the fields where he worked so hard. Chimma walked back home with a bounce in his step, his face lit up with joy. The sun was still blazing, but he didn't feel it. His heart was burning brighter. As he approached the compound, his younger brother Asim saw him coming from the front of the house. Chimma, you dey smile like say you win lottery. Asim laughed, running up to meet him. Ah, my brother, Chimma said, laughing. You no go believe what'n happened today. Come, let's go inside. Mama must hear this. Asim followed, his eyes wide with curiosity. They burst into the house together. Chimma's voice rang out in song, loud and happy. Mrs. Idioma, sitting on the mat near the window, looked up, startled. What is this excitement? Chimma, what is it? Chimma chuckled. Mama, you go faint, oh. He reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out a thick wad of cash. See this? 200,000 naira. A whole 200,000. Mrs. Idioma's eyes flew wide open. Chimma, Jesus, 200 what? From where? Haha. Chimma laughed again. I saw Uncle Chief Emeka today. He saw me working under the hot sun. He remembered Papa, and he gave me this. He say he's coming to see us this evening. Mrs. Idioma clapped her hands, trembling with a mix of joy and shock. Oh my God. Chimma, my son, this is too much, oh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my children. Her voice cracked with emotion. Then, slowly, she dropped to her knees right there in the center of the room. She lifted her hands to the sky and began to pray. O Lord, bless my sons. Bless Asim. Bless Chimma. Bless the one you used to send this help. Bless Chief Emeka. Let no evil touch him. Let joy never depart from him. Asim danced around the room, laughing. Ha ha ha. Mama, better don kamo. Mrs. Idioma laughed too, wiping her eyes, and finally, this sickness no go finish me again. Chimma, my son, God go bless you. The small room rang with laughter, prayers, and grateful voices, all wrapped in that moment of hope. The evening was quiet, but the air carried a certain electricity, like something important was about to happen. Out on the dusty road, the sleek, dark, tinted 2019 Toyota Avalon rolled to a stop right in front of the compound. Its engine hummed, then cut off cleanly. From inside the house, Asim, Chimma's younger brother, peered through the window, his eyes lighting up at the sight of the beautiful, expensive car. Oh boy, see car, he whispered. He stepped out from the front of the house to get a better look, his bare feet crunching softly on the gravel. The driver's door opened, and Chief Emeka, their long-absent uncle, stepped out. There was a brief pause, and then, as if a spark had ignited, the entire compound came alive. Mama let out a sharp, joyful cry. Asim, it's your uncle. Oh my God. She hurried out, tying her wrapper properly as she walked fast, almost running. Chimma came out too, wiped his hands on his trousers, his heart pounding. Asim dashed forward with excitement. Uncle Emeka. Welcome, sir. They all surrounded him, hugging, shaking hands, bowing heads with respect. It was like a hero had returned from a long journey. They welcomed him like a president and a savior, smiling and praising him as they led him inside the house. He stepped his foot on the tiled floor. He was offered a seat. Everyone sat, Mama, Asim, and Chimma, all leaning in as Chief Emeka spoke. He looked at Chimma, really looking at him. Chimma, he said softly, you've grown so much. I couldn't believe it when I saw you today, working under that hot sun. My brother's son, suffering like that, it pierced my heart. I've not had peace since. Chimma, caught off guard, bowed his head slightly. Uncle, this is what I do to survive. Mama is sick. I have to take care of her and Asim. Chief Emeka looked down, shook his head slowly. This is not right. No, I thought about it all day, and I made a decision. I'm taking Chimma with me to Onitsha. He'll work with me in the electronics market. For 5 years, he will learn the business. After that, I will settle him. He will have his own shop. The room went silent, then burst into smiles and joy. Chimma clapped his hands together, laughing out loud. Ah, Uncle. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Even Asim jumped and clapped. Mama, we go better. Chief Emeka turned to Mrs. Idioma. Prepare him. In 3 days we leave. Overcome, Mrs. Idioma stood up, then slowly knelt down in front of Chief Emeka. She raised her hands in prayer, her voice trembling with gratitude. Chief Emeka, may God bless you abundantly for helping my son. May he open every door for you, guide your steps, protect your journey, even to Onitsha and beyond. She coughed into the corner of her wrapper, then wiped her mouth and continued, her voice weaker but still full of fire. May you find peace. May your name bring favor wherever it's mentioned. May heaven reward you for carrying this burden. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Thank you for not forgetting us. Chief Emeka's chest rose with emotion. He knelt a little and gently held her hands. Your prayer means more than anything, Mama. I promise. I will make sure Chimma has a life his father would be proud of. The room was quiet again, but this time it was not from sorrow. It was filled with joy, warmth, and holy hope, like a sacred fire had been lit in their hearts, lighting up the darkness that had lived there for so long. After the heartfelt prayers and promises, the family brought out food. Hot, simple, and made with love. A plate of pounded yam with vegetable soup. They placed it gently before Chief Emeka. He smiled, nodding in gratitude. Thank you, Mama. He washed his hands in a bowl, then settled to eat, slowly, peacefully, like a man at home. They sat around him, watching with quiet joy, as if feeding him was feeding their own hearts. When he finished, he wiped his mouth and stood up to go. But before stepping out, he reached into his inner pocket and brought out a bundle of cash, neatly arranged, bound tight. Take this, he said, handing it to Mrs. Idioma. Use it for the house and for yourself. That's 200,000 naira. Mama gasped. Her hand trembled as she received it. 200? Ah, Chief Emeka. God will bless you. The children shouted with joy. Even Asim jumped and clapped again. They all came outside with him, smiles stretching from ear to ear. Chief Emeka opened the dark, tinted 2019 Toyota Avalon car door and entered. The engine hummed once again. He waved. Take care of yourselves. Chimma, get ready. In 3 days we move. Yes, sir. Chimma beamed. The car pulled off slowly, turning back toward the dusty road it came from. They stood, watching. The sleek Avalon moved farther and farther, until it faded into the evening sun. Mama held the money close to her chest. The children laughed and ran circles around her. Then, as if joy had lifted their legs, they all ran back into the house, shouting and laughing, full of a happiness they hadn't felt in years. And that's how the day ended, like a door had opened where there was once only a wall. The night was cool and quiet. Outside, crickets chirped softly. Inside the small room, the lantern flickered, casting shadows on the walls. Chimma sat on the bench, elbows on his knees, eyes looking down. Mrs. Idioma sat on the mat, wrapped tight in her cloth. She looked tired but steady. Asim leaned against the wall, watching quietly. After a long pause, Chimma said softly, Mama, how you go manage now way I dey go city? Mrs. Idioma looked up slowly, gave a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Then she coughed and wiped her mouth with the corner of her wrapper. As long as you day okay, my son. I go day okay too. You go be big man one day. I believe am. She coughed again, longer this time. Her chest shook a little, but she didn't stop. She shifted and leaned forward. Make you hear well. When you reach that city, no follow bad boys. No day steal. No day do bad thing. We no get plenty, but our names still get value. You understand? Chimma just nodded slow. Work hard, my son. Work very hard. Anything your uncle talk, you grab am. Learn him well. No argue with am. No vex am. Make sure say him day proud of you. She paused. Her breath came heavy with a little wheeze. She put her hand on her chest. You know say this family day your shoulder now. Your papa don gone. You be the head now. Now you be day look up to. A Sim's voice broke the silence. I go miss you, big brother. A beg, no forget us. Promise say you go come back. Come visit village. Come see me and mama. Chimma looked at him, gave a small smile. Then he turned back to his mother. She raised her hands slowly, voice shaking as she prayed. Oh God, bless my son. Make road open for Am. Make uncle accept him well. Make uncle wife day peaceful with Am. Make city receive and bless Am. Make he come back with good news and joy. Make all enemy and bad luck clear road for Am. She stopped, coughing hard but pushed through. Make every customer way enter that shop bless Am. Make business grow because of Am. Make uncle better, make him rise because of my Pekin. Tears ran down her cheeks. Her hand stayed raised. Please, God keep him safe. Honor my tears. Make he no fall. Chimma reached out, took her hands gently. Asim moved close, resting his head on her shoulder. The room stayed quiet. But this time, no sadness filled the air. Just quiet hope. Steady, like the little lamp flickering in the dark. Early that morning, Chimma's uncle came to the house to take him. He arrived in a sleek, dark, tinted Toyota Avalon, shining bright under the soft morning sun. The kind of car that told stories of success and care. Chimma packed his few belongings quietly, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nervousness. When everything was ready, he climbed into the car beside his uncle. As the engine started and the car began to move, Chimma leaned toward the window and waved, first with a small smile, then with both hands. Mama and Asim were waving back, smiling wide, though their eyes were already glassy with tears. The car rolled away down the dusty road, leaving behind the familiar sounds of the village. As they passed through village after village, Chimma pointed eagerly at every corner. Uncle, what's the name of this place? And this one? And that one? He asked, eyes bright with curiosity. His uncle laughed softly, glancing at him through the rearview mirror. You want to know the name of everywhere, huh? He said, shaking his head with a smile. Chimma nodded enthusiastically, trying to memorize every detail as the Avalon hummed steadily along the road. When they finally entered Lagos, everything changed. The streets were packed, cars honking, people shouting, buses rushing past. Towering above the noise were mighty tall buildings, glass and steel giants reaching for the sky, taller than anything Chimma had ever seen. Some seemed to touch the clouds, their windows sparkling like stars. Billboards hung high on their sides, flashing bright colors and big promises. Chimma had always dreamed of coming to the city, but now that he was here, he wasn't excited. He felt small. Everything was moving fast. Too fast. His heart beat harder. He didn't know the word for it at the time, but it was nervousness, a kind of quiet fear. They drove through the busy roads until they arrived at a fenced compound. Inside the gates, Emeka drove the Avalon into the yard. The house was a simple but beautiful 4-bedroom white bungalow, standing firmly inside the fenced compound, neat and welcoming. The yard was clean and wide, giving a calm, open feeling as Chimma stepped out of the car. Almost immediately, Emeka's wife appeared at the door, her smile warm and inviting. Chimma, welcome, she said, stepping forward to take his hand gently. He followed her inside, feeling the smooth, polished tiles beneath his feet. As soon as he entered, Chimma's eyes scanned the space. The walls were lined with portraits and framed pictures, each carefully placed, giving the home a personal, lived-in feel. The furniture was simple yet comfortable, and the floors gleamed under the soft glow of the lamps above. The house was beautiful, warm, and inviting, a calm and gentle haven after the bustling streets outside. She guided him to a small dining area and offered him some food. making sure he could rest after the long journey. "You must be hungry," she said kindly. Chimma ate quietly, still taking in the surroundings, the soft light reflecting off the white tiles, the orderly furniture, and the quiet comfort of the home. After he finished, she led him to his room, a neat space with a window overlooking the yard, a comfortable bed, and a small desk. Chimma dropped his bags in a corner and sat on the bed. The silence wrapped around him like a blanket. He lay back slowly, eyes on the ceiling, his chest still rising fast from the rush of everything he had seen. The house was quiet now, the distant hum of the city outside fading into the background, and he closed his eyes and drifted into sleep. Chimma woke up early the next morning, the soft light spilling through the window. He stretched and stepped down from the bed, feeling the cool floor beneath his feet. Quietly, he left the room and stepped outside into the bright morning. His eyes immediately caught the sight of the house, majestic and grand, like nothing he'd ever seen before. The walls gleamed white, the windows sparkled under the sun. He walked slowly around the compound, taking in every detail. The place was huge, almost like a palace you hear about in stories, but never imagine you'd see one with your own eyes. Chimma couldn't help but speak softly to himself. "This place I find well, like one castle. I never see anything like this before." The breeze was gentle and birds chirped quietly, adding to the calmness of the morning. The sun had barely stretched over the rooftops when Chief Emeka's Avalon rolled quietly into the compound. It stopped just in front of the house. The engine gave a soft cough, then rested. From inside the house, Chimma stepped out slowly, dressed in clean clothes. His eyes were still heavy with sleep, but his spirit was alert. Chief Emeka opened the passenger door. "Enter." Chimma got in. The car moved out onto the untarred road. As they left the quiet compound behind, the world began to stir louder and louder. By the time they neared the market, the sounds had grown thick. Buy rice here. Fresh ad bono. Who day by pepper? Move na. Make on a clear road. A wheelbarrow pusher shouted, forcing his way past a group of chatting women. A woman's voice rang out from a corner stall. Buy new clothes. New styles don Lando. Horns hunked. Boys carrying crates balanced them on their heads. A baby cried somewhere, while a transistor radio buzzed out Fuji music behind a kiosk. Chimma pressed closer to the window, eyes wide. His mouth stayed shut, but inside he was trying to understand everything at once. The noise, the people, the rush. He had never seen the market this alive. Chief Emeka parked the car beside a wide gutter and stepped out. Chimma followed, blinking fast. Now the crowd pressed around him, brushing past, shouting, carts jostling. He felt the pulse of the market close at hand. They walked a few steps, then stopped in front of a wide glass front shop. The door was already open. A gust of cool air came from inside. Chimma stepped in and froze. TVs, big ones, small ones, some hanging on the wall, some still in their boxes. Generators sat at one side like sleeping animals, strong and bulky. Standing fans, sound systems, even brand new DVD players. Every corner had something. Every shelf was full. The floor was tiled. The air smelled like new wires and packaging foam. Chimma turned around slowly. He had never entered a place like this before. He looked at his uncle, then back at the machines. His chest rose and fell gently. It was a lot, but Chief Emeka was already moving. "Come," he said. They stepped out and walked a few meters down to the second shop, another electronics store filled with similar goods. Wires, gadgets, fans, and stacked boxes. Chimma kept walking, but in his heart something had stopped. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was too much, too big, too sharp. Then they returned to the first shop. Chief Emeka turned, looked at him, and said firmly, "This not my two shops, but you go day here, day oversee the both of dem," Chief Emeka said, leaning back slightly, his eyes steady on Chimma. Then, after a pause, he continued, "Every week I'm going to give you money to send to your mother in the village so that she can take care of herself and your brother. Is that okay by you?" Chimma nodded quickly, a small smile on his face. "Yes, sir. That's okay." Emeka's expression softened slightly. "Good. That way, while you work here and learn, you're also helping your family." That's important. Chima nodded slowly, letting the weight of the words settle in. He sank onto the small bench near the counter. Another man, already at work, nodded at him in greeting. They shook hands briefly. Chima leaned back slightly, eyes wandering across the walls, the neatly stacked shelves, the scattered boxes, and the faint glow of blinking TV lights. He was quiet. He was scared. But deep inside, a spark burned, a belief that he was meant for something greater. He didn't know how yet. He didn't know what it would cost him. But he would learn it. He would master it. He had no choice. This was where it began. From that very first day, Chima settled into his new role at the shop with quiet determination. Every morning, he woke up early, sometimes before the sun even touched the rooftops. He swept the shop, arranged the shelves, and opened the doors before most traders had even arrived. He served customers with patience, answered questions, and never tried to cheat anyone. His eyes were always watching, learning. His hands were never idle. The faint hum of electronics, the soft beeping of registers, and the subtle scent of new devices became part of his daily rhythm. Because of this, the customers grew to love him. Many of them came not just for the electronics, but for Chima himself. Even when Chief Emeka wasn't around, they trusted Chima enough to handle things. If Chima is there, they would say we're in safe hands. Over time, as he followed his uncle to restock goods, Chima began building quiet connections with the suppliers and distributors. They saw his honesty, his consistency, and the way he handled things. So, without even trying, his network began to grow. Big men, warehouse owners, delivery drivers, people began to know his name. The clatter of crates, the smell of new stock, and the lively chatter of the market became familiar companions. He didn't talk much, but his work spoke loud. Every precise movement, every careful transaction, every honest deal. These quietly built his reputation. And though he was still young, it was already clear. He was becoming someone people could count on. A dependable presence in a world that often seemed chaotic. 2 shops stood when Chima came. 5 years passed, and with hands that toiled and a heart that stayed true, 8 more rose beside them. 10 in all, shining with his labor. All because he gave his best every day. He worked sincerely, never making his uncle angry. His mother's words stuck with him. Work hard, keep your dignity, respect your uncle. The customers knew him well. He was the one running the shops. Still, those years weren't easy. Sometimes, Chima felt tired and wondered if the promise would come true. But he pushed on, holding on to hope and the dream of a better life. To mark the milestones of these 5 years, Chief Emeka built a new, beautiful bungalow, a symbol of everything they had achieved together. The compound was vast, enclosed by high walls that offered both privacy and a sense of strength. Inside the gates, 2 luxury vehicles gleamed under the sunlight, their polished surfaces reflecting the morning glow. Among them, a sleek black Mercedes-Benz G-Class stood prominently, exuding power and elegance, its presence almost commanding respect. The other car, the Avalon, was given to his wife, a gift she had long admired. Both vehicles had been dedicated in the church, a moment of gratitude and joy, echoing the work and faith that had brought them here. At the center of the compound, the bungalow rose proudly, a grand, commanding presence. White pillars lined the facade, tall and flawless, while large windows captured the sunlight perfectly. The front porch was wide and welcoming, inviting guests to pause and step inside. Gardens were carefully trimmed, filled with vibrant, blooming flowers that added life and color to the space, a stark contrast to the modest beginnings from which they had risen. Inside, the house was cool and expansive. The floors reflected the soft light of elegant lamps hanging from the ceiling, giving the rooms a gentle glow. Tasteful paintings adorned the walls, each one chosen to complement the calm and refined atmosphere. Comfortable furniture filled the rooms, arranged thoughtfully for both function and style, inviting relaxation while speaking of careful attention to detail. Every corner whispered of luxury, balance, and care, a perfect blend of elegance and warmth without overwhelming the senses. Emeka dedicated the sleek black Mercedes-Benz G-Class as his personal car, while giving the Avalon to his wife. Pride shone in his eyes as he looked at the home and the cars, a testament to the extraordinary journey he and Chimma had undertaken together. Every achievement, the shops, the bungalow, the vehicles, stood as a marker of their perseverance, trust, and unwavering effort. After 5 years, Emeka began to realize Chimma had grown the business from 3 shops to 10. He was the heart of the market now. Customers trusted him more than anyone else. The uncle realized that letting Chimma go would be risky for the business. Losing the man who ran everything so well could mean losing everything he had built. So when Chimma asked about the promise to set him free, Chief Emeka hesitated. He told Chimma there was still more to learn, skills and secrets only he could teach. But deep down, he was holding on because the business depended on Chimma's hard work and loyalty. Though he cared for Chimma, the uncle's priority was the shops. He needed time to figure out how to keep the business safe without Chimma. That's why he asked him to stay longer. The 6th year passed quickly, almost like a breeze. Chimma barely noticed the days going by because he was so passionate about his work. Every moment was filled with purpose and learning, and before he knew it, the year had flown past sweetly, like time itself was on his side. By the end of that year, he called his uncle again, ready to claim what was promised. When the 6th year drew to a close, Chimma met his uncle one quiet evening at the shop. The sun was already leaning west, casting long shadows across the tiled floor. He said gently, "Uncle, the 6 years you promised me are already close. So, what are we going to do now?" Chief Emeka didn't give a straight answer. He rubbed his palms slowly against his trousers, then muttered, "Don't worry. I don't have enough money right now, but I will settle you soon." Chimma stood there, staring. The words didn't feel real. He knew how the shops were running. He ran them himself. He knew how much they sold every week, how goods moved in and out. He knew his uncle had the money. He was shocked. Why is uncle saying he doesn't have money? Maybe he's just not ready? Chimma said nothing. He went back to his work and waited. But the days turned into weeks. Weeks melted into months. And before he could even catch his breath, the 7th year had come. That year, the quiet inside him broke. One morning he stood beside his uncle again and asked directly, "Uncle, you told me 5 years. But it's now 7. What is happening?" Chief Emeka turned sharply. "What do you mean, what is happening?" he barked. "You want to be the one controlling me now. You think because you're working, you now have the right to dictate?" Chimma tried to speak, but the uncle didn't stop. "Don't forget, I'm the one who brought you from the village to this place. I'm the one who gave you this life. It is me that will tell you what to do, not the other way round." The words hit harder than Chimma expected. He was quiet. He said nothing again. Something in him folded that day, not out of weakness, but because the truth had finally become clear. His uncle had no plan to let him go, but Chimma wasn't completely sure. A part of him still hoped maybe things would change, maybe his uncle would remember the promise. So he decided to stay a little longer and wait. It was 8 a.m. in Lagos. The city had already started to shout. Horns blared, bus conductors barked for passengers, shop owners lifted their shutters and swept out yesterday's dust. But inside Chief Emeka's compound, it was a different world, quiet, walled off, rich. The gate stood tall, painted deep green, and the house itself was cool and wide, filled with silence and tiled floors. Chimma stepped out from the front door. His shirt was tucked in, his slippers clean. He carried a small bag and walked with purpose. His face looked calm, but inside his heart was pacing. This was the 3rd time. He had asked before, twice already. Each time his uncle waved it off like breeze. But today he had decided again he would try one more time. He would ask to be settled. Just as he reached the street corner, he stopped. His hands went to his bag, then his pockets. He patted his side, searched again. A long, low hiss escaped his lips. He had forgotten the shop key. Without wasting time, he turned and walked back. The house remained quiet, untouched by the outside world. As he entered the hallway, his feet quiet on the tiles, he heard voices coming from the master bedroom. The door was half closed. He was just about to pass when the sound of his uncle's voice stopped him in his tracks. "That boy no get sense at all. Ide run mouth, say make I give him money make he go open shop. E think say life now beans? I wise pass am. I no go settle am. E go just stay inside my shop day work till I say stop. His wife responded, her voice calm but sharp. Me I know just sabi wouldn't day push dat boy. Maybe he feel say person oh am. But make we talk true, you day try for am. But he too day try too. Life no easy for dat Pekin. Chief Emeka gave a long hiss. A beg leave matter. If you pamper dem too much, dem go climb your head. Makey day learn small. Chimma stood still, frozen by their words. The corridor stretched out before him like a tunnel with no light. His chest felt tight. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just stood there, absorbing every painful word. When the room went quiet again, he moved slowly toward the kitchen. The key lay on the counter beside a bag of onions. He picked it up with steady hands. As he turned to leave, he bumped into her, his uncle's wife standing at the kitchen entrance. "Ah, Chimma, you still day house? I been think say you done reach market since." "Yes, ma. I forget the shop key. So I come back come carry am." She looked at him, lips slightly parted, but said nothing more. Chimma turned and left. The market was hot, fast, and full. Loudspeakers blared music from corner shops. Traders shouted over each other. Buses honked. Customers bargained. Chimma opened the shop and settled into routine. But something inside him was missing. His eyes were dull. His movements lacked life. One of the regular customers stepped in with a spoiled charger and placed it on the counter. "Chimma, wouldn't dey sup? You know dey smiled today at all." "I dey manage." That was all he said, and he bent down to fix the cable. Evening crept in. The sky dimmed, and the noise of the market faded into a distant hum. Chimma locked up, counted cash, and walked home slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. His shoulders slumped slightly, and his eyes, usually alert and sharp, were dull, reflecting the quiet frustration and exhaustion in his chest. Every movement seemed slower, weighed down by a sense of something missing, a promise unfulfilled. Chief Emeka was in the parlor, legs crossed, sipping cold malt while the TV played a drama softly in the background. His eyes occasionally flicked to the screen, but his attention seemed split between the plot on the screen and the quiet stillness of the house. The drama on the TV drew low murmurs from him and his wife, their conversation gentle, commenting on the scenes, discussing the characters' choices and misfortunes, creating a natural domestic hum that filled the space. Chimma stepped in, the familiar creak of the floor under his slippers barely audible. He paused for a heartbeat, his chest tight, his palms lightly brushing against the bag he carried. His gaze flicked from the polished floor to his uncle, then to the softly glowing TV. The weight of days, weeks, months, 7 long years, pressed subtly on his face. Lips set, jaw tight, eyes showing a mix of hope and frustration. Chief Emeka looked up from the screen, taking in the expression on Chimma's face. Something in the young man's quiet intensity and the tension in his posture caught his attention. The corners of his eyes narrowed, and a slight crease formed on his forehead, a mixture of surprise, irritation, and curiosity. "When do you just stay carry long face since morning?" "Now so you go just stay dull all day?" he asked, his voice sharper now, instinctively responding to the unspoken emotions Chimma carried in his expression. Chimma dropped his bag gently, the movement deliberate and controlled, his voice quiet but clear. "Uncle, make we talk for private." The words carried the weight of patience stretched thin, of frustration tempered by respect, and the subtle tension of someone who had quietly carried years of loyalty and effort, now seeking acknowledgement. The TV's drama continued softly in the background, but the air between them thickened, the home suddenly charged with unspoken truths and the careful dance of power, expectation, and restrained emotion. Chief Emeka stood up from the chair and stretched slightly. His eyes scanned Chimma's face with suspicion, but he gestured toward the corridor. "Oya, follow me." They walked in silence into the guest room. The door closed behind them. The AC hummed in the corner. Chimma stood near the edge of the bed, hands behind his back. Chief Emeka sat. "So talk. When you won yen?" Chimma didn't speak at first. His chest rose and fell, and his eyes blinked rapidly like something hot was behind them. Then slowly he dropped to his knees. Uncle, why? Why you do me like this? His voice cracked. Tears broke out, rolling freely. He pressed both hands against the floor and looked up. I day village, day hustle my own. Day find life small small. You come carry me come Lagos. I think say nah better life you want show me. I know no say nah sufferness you plan for me. You know treat me like person way your brother born. You be the only brother way papa get. And nah so you carry me come suffer me? Chief Emeka shifted, surprised. But Chimma kept talking, his voice breaking with each word. I hear everything way you talk this morning. I hear You tell your wife say I no go ever get shop. Say I go just stay your hand like servant. You call me fool. He lowered his head, tears dropping to the tiles. Uncle, what did I do you? Silence filled the room. The kind of silence that presses on the ears. Chief Emeka didn't move for a while. Then he leaned back and sighed. Chimma, you hear that one? Yes. I hear everything. Word for word. Chief Emeka rubbed his hand over his face. His voice dropped low. CN. I no go lie. I no expect you go hear that one. But make I no hide again. You don't try. I just stay fear how things go be. Business done hard. But I go settle you. I swear. Chimma looked at him, eyes still wet but steady. You done promised before. 2 times. You tell me say time never reach. Uncle, I day beg. I don't try. I don't do everything. You know say I day try. Chief Emeka nodded slowly. His tone softened. You day right. And I day sorry. I go do am. This time I no go fail you. Chimma wiped his face slowly with his hands, brushing the tears away. His breath was heavy. Before he turned to leave, he looked at the floor, then back up, quiet but full of thought. Inside him, a small voice spoke. Make I still try. Make I see if this time he go really do when he talk. Then he stepped toward the door. Before he reached it, his uncle called out gently. Make you no vex for me, Chimma. I be your uncle. I go do right by you. Chimma stopped for a second, then left the room. One morning the shop was quiet, filled with the soft hum of plugged-in appliances and the scent of warm metal. Chimma was already there, dusting the glass displays and checking the receipts from yesterday. The other boys, 3 of them, had arrived early too, folding carton wrappers and unboxing smaller items. At exactly 7:42 a.m., Chief Emeka entered the shop. He didn't greet anyone. He walked in with a stiff face and a small black bag under his armpit. His eyes didn't scan the shop. He walked straight to the steel locker at the back, used his personal key, opened it, and placed the bag inside. The sound of the lock turning echoed in the room. Chimma, he said, without turning. I day go event 3 in that new branch. Making us stay here. Don't touch anything. Yes, sir, Chimma replied. Chief Emeka left. Hours passed. It was business as usual. Chimma attended to customers, wrote receipts, calculated change, lifted boxes. Nothing was strange. Not to anyone. Not even to Chimma. Then, around 11:23 a.m., the door opened again. Chief Emeka was back, but this time his footsteps were fast, loud, angry. He walked past everyone, went straight to the locker, opened it, and froze. His chest lifted once, sharply. Then his voice burst out. Where is the money? The shop stopped moving. Nobody spoke. He turned slowly, eyes scanning each face like a man who already knew the answer, but wanted to hear it aloud. I say, where is the bag I put here this morning? My black leather bag? Who carry him? Nobody answered. One of the boys stepped back slightly. Another looked down. Una day mad. Chief Emeka shouted. I put over 6 million naira inside here this morning. And now he done vanish. Chimma stepped forward, eyebrows furrowed. Sir, I swear, I know even near that locker. Everybody day swear, Chief Emeka hissed. But my money done disappear. Without another word, he pulled out his phone and called the police. When they arrived, they came with urgency. No smiles, no warnings. The senior officer was an older man, with folded brows and sharp eyes. Now who dey in charge here? He asked. Chief Emeka pointed straight at Chimma and the boys. These ones. Not only them day here. Any of them go anywhere today? The officer asked. No. Dem day here since morning. All right, we go search all of una rooms. They began with the boys, who stayed in the boys' quarters behind the main house. One by one, their rooms were searched. Nothing. Then they entered the main building, Chief Emeka's house. Straight to the back room, Chimma's room. The moment the officer stepped in, he paused. The room was small, barely big enough for his iron bed, a suitcase, and a standing fan. There was a nail on the wall where he hung his towel. A single bulb dangled from the ceiling. But near the corner, close to the bottom of the wooden shelf, the officer saw something odd. A flattened section of cardboard pressed into the floor. He walked to it, tapped it. Hollow sound. He lifted it. Underneath, wrapped in a blue nylon bag, was the same black leather bag. He opened it. Money. Bundled. Neat. Wrapped with rubber bands. The entire room went silent. Chief Emeka stood by the door, his hands behind his back, shaking his head slowly. I trusted this boy like my own son. Chimma couldn't breathe. Sir, I no know how that thing take enter here. I swear. Chief, I day sleep for this room. You go say I carry 6 million keep under my shelf? For wedding. The officer didn't argue. He brought out handcuffs. You are under arrest. As they led him out, Chimma looked back, not at the police, but at his uncle. Chief, you know I didn't do this. But Chief Emeka didn't say a word. He just looked at the ground, rubbing his beard. The road to the village was quiet that morning, but there was no peace in Chief Emeka's heart. His eyes were hard, locked on the red earth ahead as his car rumbled down the narrow path. The dust rose behind him like smoke. In the back seat, 2 workers from the shop sat in silence, their heads lowered, as if they didn't want to witness what was about to happen. By the time they reached the family compound, the village was already awake. Goats moved lazily near the fence. A child ran past with slippers too big for his feet. Everything looked normal, except for what Chief Emeka carried in his chest. Under the mango tree, seated on a low bench with a shawl around her frail shoulders, was Mrs. Idioma, Chimma's mother. Her breath was shallow, and a tired cough escaped her lips as she wiped her mouth with a handkerchief. Her eyes brightened faintly when she saw Emeka's car pull in. Emeka, she said gently, trying to rise, but her body was too weak. You came. He got out, not smiling. He walked slowly toward her, his hands folded behind his back. The 2 boys followed him quietly and stopped a few feet away. Auntie, I know come with good news, he said, voice low. Her face tightened. What is it? Is Chimma all right? He took a breath. Chimma, don't disgrace me. Her lips parted, confused. How? He looked away for a second, then began. For some months now, things they miss from my shop. At first it be like mistake. TVs, speakers, money. But last week, I kept a huge amount, over 6 million, inside the locker. I no tell anybody. Nobody day when I lock am. When I return, the money don vanish. Mrs. Idioma pressed her chest. 6 million? I call police, he continued. Dem search everybody. Nothing. Until Dem reached Chimma room. The exact money, inside nylon. Under his floor. My own leather bag. She couldn't speak. Her eyes were blinking fast now. Her breathing shallow. I no fit lie, auntie. I brought these boys way day work with us. Make Dem talk when Dem see. One of the workers stepped forward, nodded sadly. We day there, mama. We no believe too. But police find the money for him room. Emeka continued, softer this time. I fit carry him go court. He don't enter police hand already. But because of my brother, his father, and because of your condition, I no go disgracing it like that. I go withdraw the case. I just say make I bring him back home. I no fit keep him near my business again. He don't finish. For a long time, the only sound was her breathing. Then came the cough, deep, dry, stubborn. She bent forward slightly, covering her mouth with her scarf. When she straightened, her eyes were watery. Thank you, she said weakly. Thank you for no carrying him to court. If to say you put am for prison, what'n I for do? I no get power. I no get voice. Thank you. She looked down at her feet. Just release Am. Let him come home. He's my son. If he do wrong, not still me go carry the shame. But thank you. Chief Emeka didn't reply. He only gave a short nod. Then he turned around, walked slowly back to his car, and drove away. The cell door creaked open. A police officer stepped in and stopped when he saw Chimma sitting on the concrete floor inside. "Chimma," the officer said, his voice calm but firm, "get up. You're about to go back home." Chimma blinked. For a moment, he didn't move. Then, slowly, he rose to his feet. He followed the officer out of the cell, his eyes adjusting to the brighter light outside the iron bars. It had been 2 full months inside that cold, silent cell. They walked together toward the counter. At the counter, another officer brought out Chimma's belongings, a nylon bag containing his shirt, belt, and a worn pair of slippers. Chimma quietly began to dress. The officer beside him leaned against the table, watching. Then he spoke, his voice strong and direct. "You for spend 20 years for prison if this matter reach court. You no even know what'n for happened to you." He shook his head slightly. "But your mama beg. That woman cry tire. She kneel down, beg your uncle well. And that man, your uncle, not good man. If no be say he get clean heart, you for still day that cell till now." Chimma's hands paused briefly on his shirt buttons. The officer nodded. "Not only God know what'n day is mind, but he just say make everything end. Make we free you go house." Chimma didn't speak. His face was tired but calm. He just nodded once, slowly, his breathing steady but deep. He finished dressing, the shirt hanging loosely on his thin frame. Now fully clothed, Chimma stood quietly at the counter. Still inside, not yet outside, just standing there on the edge of going home. Chimma was standing at the counter, hands by his side, head slightly bowed. The air was calm but tense. Then the door creaked open. Chief Emeka stepped in. "Ah, Chief," one of the policemen called out immediately. Another joined, "Good man. Good man." They all began hailing him, calling him big names like the Pillar of Justice, Chairman, and Odugu of the People. Chief Emeka let out a quiet laugh and walked up to one of them. He reached into his pocket and handed over a bundle of notes, 200,000 naira. "Make una help me release the boy," he said, his voice smooth. The policeman took the money and nodded. "No walla, sir." He turned to Chimma and pointed at him. "I hope you don learn your lesson," he said firmly. "Stealing no day pay. I hope say you don change. Make this be the last time." Another officer waved at him dismissively. "Thief way get luck. Just stay go," he muttered. As Chimma stepped forward, Chief Emeka signaled him. "Come." Chimma followed, still stunned, eyes glancing around. Once they were outside and walking toward the car, he began to speak. "Thank you, uncle." "Thank you," he said quietly. "You really tried for me. I don't even know what to say." Chief Emeka didn't answer at first. He just opened the passenger door and waited. Chimma got in. Then Chief Emeka entered the driver's side and started the engine. They drove off. The city faded behind them. The road opened ahead. They kept driving until the road signs turned to trees, and the air felt like home. After some time, they entered the village, then turned into Chimma's family compound. The village compound was calm, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows on the red earth. Dust rose gently under the tires as Chief Emeka's car pulled to a stop in front of the old family house. Chimma sat quietly in the passenger seat, eyes lowered, heart heavy. The door creaked open. He stepped out slowly, his legs almost unwilling. Mrs. Idioma sat outside, a wrapper tied over her frail shoulders. Her eyes widened when she saw them. She stood up, leaning on the wooden rail, coughing into her elbow. Chief Emeka came down too, walking around the car with the confidence of a man who believed he'd done something noble. "Mama," he said, raising his hand, "I don bring him come. Now your Pekin be this." She coughed again, then managed a weak smile. "Chief Emeka," she said, voice rough, "you try. You be real man of your word. God go bless you." He waved a hand like he didn't want the praise. "Mama, no be anything. Now my brother Pekin. I know fit carry him go court. I know go send him police. Even though what'n happened pain me well, I leave everything for God hand." He turned to Chimma briefly. "Make you try behave. This your last chance." Then he climbed back into the car, started the engine, and reversed without another word. The dust followed the car as it disappeared down the narrow road. Mrs. Idioma turned her eyes away from the road. Her body trembled slightly. Then, without a word, she began to cry. Quiet, broken tears, like the sound of dry leaves falling. Her cough broke through the sobs, mixing pain with sorrow. She wiped her face quickly with the edge of her wrapper, trying to steady herself. Mrs. Idioma turned fully to Chimma now, her eyes sharp. Chimma, she said, coughing again, what didn't you do? Dem day talk say you thief money. Chimma, so now what didn't you one use disgrace kill me be this? Mama, I no thief anything. I swear I no even know how the money waka, Chimma said, his voice low but firm. She stepped closer, pain in her voice. Dem day point finger at me for village now. Say I no sabi train Pekin. Say nah so headway no day here word I born. Chimma, you want make I die before my time. Mama, I no do am. Believe me. She stared at him for a moment. Her eyes softened and she sighed, coughing again. I know say you stubborn, but I no born thief. My spirit no agree say now you do this kind thing. But Chimma, make God judge everything. She turned slowly, walking back to her chair with tired steps, leaving Chimma standing alone, carrying the full weight of her words and his own silence. That evening, when Chimma returned from Lagos, he didn't say a word. He just walked slowly to the back of the house and sat down on a chair at the back, his back resting against the wall. The night was quiet, but inside him a storm was loud. Tears came not rushed, not loud, just slow and painful. He sat there, reflecting on everything. Just a few months ago, he was managing a shop in the city, holding keys and counting goods. And now, here he was, back in the village with nothing but silence and memories. His chest was tight with pain. He thought about the 7 years he gave, working day and night, running errands, keeping accounts, doing everything to please his uncle. He never stole, never complained. And yet, what did it bring him? No reward, no profit, no thank you, just shame. And then the prison. He buried his face in his hands and cried bitterly. God, he whispered through his sobs, why? What did I do wrong? Why did you let them accuse me of something I didn't do? Why did you allow me to be arrested like a thief? He was asking questions, hard ones, because he truly didn't understand. The money they said was missing, he never touched it. He didn't even know it was gone. And yet, they locked him up like he was nothing. After all the years I gave, this is what I get, he cried. Why, God? Why did you let this happen? But even in the middle of his questions, something in him refused to break. Deep inside, he still believed that God was not finished with him. That somehow, in this mess, something meaningful was still growing. Something impactful. He didn't know what it was, but he held on to it. He wiped his tears with the back of his hand, looked up to the stars, and took a deep breath. He didn't have answers, but he still had breath. And maybe that was enough for now. That night, he cried until sleep found him. By morning, before the birds finished their first song, Chimma stood up, wiped his face, and reached for his hoe. He didn't speak. He didn't explain. He just walked toward the bush path that led to their farm. Because hunger doesn't wait for sorrow. And life in the village, hard, quiet, and honest, had to begin again. Since Chimma returned to the village, he had not known rest. From dawn to dusk, he worked, tilling soil, cutting grass, helping people in the village, anything to keep moving. But he wasn't just working for the sake of it. He was providing. He found ways to put food on the table, not just for himself, but for his siblings too. Asim, especially, always had something to eat, something to wear. Chimma gave without complaining. Even their mother noticed, though weak and often coughing, she would smile quietly any time food was ready or medicine was bought. Day by day, Chimma was saving, little by little. Not loud, not boastful, but he was putting money aside. And one evening, when the lantern glowed quietly and the breeze crept through the curtain like an old friend, he called them together. Mrs. Idioma sat slowly on the wooden bench, her wrapper tied loosely around her. Asim sat beside her. Chimma stood for a moment, then spoke. I've been thinking, he said. It's time I go back to the city. His mother looked at him with tired eyes. Asim glanced up, surprised. I've spent 7 years there, Chima said. I know the corners. I know people. I made connections. I believe if I return, I can stand on my feet. Here, I don't see any prosperity coming soon. His mother's voice cracked. Chima, no. You've suffered too much in that city. It nearly swallowed you. You were blackmailed, arrested. That place is filled with danger. Here, in the village, you're safe. Chima nodded slowly. Yes, Mama, I know. But the city has more people, more opportunities. I know what happened before. But I also believe God is ready to establish me now. I feel it. Mrs. Idioma coughed twice, pressing her chest gently. Then she said, I know the son I gave birth to. I know you didn't do what they said. But still, I'm scared for you. Chima looked at her with soft eyes. I'll be careful. I've learned. Let me try again. Asim looked at him with quiet eagerness. Can I follow you, brother? Chima smiled and reached for his shoulder. Not yet. Let me go first. When I settle, I'll send for you. And for Mama. A small laughter filled the room. Faint but real. Mrs. Idioma's eyes watered. Kneel down, she said softly. Chima knelt. She placed her hand on his head. Her voice trembled both from age and illness. God, guide my son. Let the road before him not swallow him. Let his enemies scatter. Let every work of his hands bring fruit. He has suffered. Father, please bless him. Her voice broke. She wept as she prayed. Chima was weeping too. Even Asim wiped his face with his shirt. When she finished, she held his face and kissed his forehead gently. The next morning, as the sun began to rise and the birds hadn't yet finished their first song, Chima stepped out of the house. A small bag was strapped across his shoulder. Mrs. Idioma stood at the edge of the compound, waving a hand weakly. Her hand shook slightly in the morning cold. Asim stood beside her, waving with both hands, forcing a smile. Chima turned briefly, gave a final wave, then walked on, into the misty path that led away from the village. He didn't look back again. Chima returned to the city, but this time there was no place for him to call home. His steps were slow as he made his way to his friend's house, carrying nothing but his small bag and a quiet hope. He knocked, and the door opened, but there was no smile waiting for him. His friend's eyes turned away, his words locked behind sealed lips. Chima tried to speak, to start a simple conversation, but it was like talking to a wall. The silence cut deep. He stood there for a moment, feeling the weight of being unwanted, then quietly picked up his bag and walked away. He turned to someone else, a customer he once served. Maybe there he would find a little kindness, but the welcome was the same, cold, distant, like he had become a stranger overnight. With nowhere left to turn, Chima found himself out in the open. The city lights shone far above him, but none of them lit a path to rest. So he kept walking through the noise, through the empty streets, searching. After some time, he came across an unfinished building. The floor was laid, but the upper walls were still bare concrete. It wasn't much, but at least it had a roof to keep the night rain away. He stepped inside and settled into one dark corner, hoping to find a little sleep. The place was alive with mosquitoes. They whined in his ears and bit at his arms. He waved them away, but they came back again and again. Then, in the stillness, gunshots cracked the air. Pop, pop, pop. Sharp, loud, and close. Somewhere nearby, thieves had struck. Almost instantly, the vigilantes came, men with cutlasses, sticks, and flashlights, ringing heavy iron bells that clanged in the darkness. As they shouted orders to one another, the sound of their boots drew closer, until Chima could hear them at the entrance of the uncompleted building. His chest tightened. His breath slowed. Oh God, not here. Please not here. Let them pass. The first beam of torchlight swept across the dusty floor, climbing the walls. Their footsteps echoed on the cement. As they began to search, the thud of boots on the staircase grew louder. Boom, 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 each step shaking through the concrete. What if they think I'm one of the thieves? How will I explain? I don't even know anyone to call. God, please don't let them see me. Chima pressed himself deeper into the shadows, his hands gripping his bag like a shield. Check upstairs, one voice shouted. They came up, their light cutting through the darkness, swinging dangerously close to where he lay. Then came the sound of metal, clang, a cutlass scraping and striking the wall. A loose block was kicked aside, bang, the noise ringing in the air like a warning. His heart pounded, so hard he feared they might hear it. Just pass, please, just pass. The footsteps came within a few breaths of his hiding spot, then stopped. One of them turned. The beam of light moved away. A voice said, "Nothing here. Let's go." Slowly, their footsteps faded, and the bells grew distant, swallowed by the night. Chimma didn't move for a long time. Only when silence returned did the mosquitoes reclaim the air. He lay there, tired, scared, and whispered into the dark, "Thank you, Lord." Sleep never came to him. He waited for morning, praying the new day would be kinder than the last. In the morning, Chimma woke up inside the unfinished building. His body felt stiff from the hard wooden table he had used as a bed. The air was damp from the night, and his clothes clung to his skin. He rubbed his face, reached for his bag, and without a word, stepped back into the noisy city streets. The whole day, he walked without direction. From one street to another, one corner to the next, searching for a place that could take him in. But the city was wide, and nobody was opening their doors to him. By evening, his legs ached and his stomach was empty. He had no money for a hotel, no room to rent. He realized, painfully, that he had not planned for this at all. Late at night, while wandering, he saw the gates of a university campus open. Drawn by the lights and the sound of voices, he walked in. Around him, small groups of people were scattered about, some kneeling in prayer, their voices soft, others sitting quietly, chatting in low tones. As the night wore on, people began leaving for their hostels. Chimma followed behind a student who was heading to a reading spot inside one of the hostel blocks. On the way, the student told him, almost casually, that thieves often came around at night to harass students and steal their phones and belongings. When they reached the reading spot, Chimma sat down alone in a corner while the other students sat apart from him. But before long, their whispers turned to questions. One of them looked at him sharply and asked, "Whose course are you reading? Where are you from?" Chimma froze. He didn't know what to say. His silence made their suspicion grow. "If you don't leave now, we'll call security," one of them warned. Without arguing, Chimma stood up, picked up his bag, and left quietly. He wandered again through the dark campus until he came across an old, abandoned building. The door creaked as he pushed it open, revealing a wide, empty hall. The air inside was cold and still. Chimma found a wooden table in the corner. He climbed onto it, laid his bag under his head, and curled himself up against the night chill. His voice was barely above a whisper as he spoke into the emptiness. "God, you see me here. I have nowhere to go. No friend will take me. No one cares. I don't even know what to do next. Please make a way for me. Give me somewhere to stay, even if it's small. Just don't let me keep wandering like this. You're the only one I can ask." His words lingered in the air, swallowed by the quiet night. At some point, his eyes closed and sleep came over him. When he woke, it was early morning. The hall was still and cold, and the air outside carried a faint mist. Pulling his bag onto his back, Chimma stepped out once again, into another day with no clear path, but still walking. Chimma passed through the university gate where the guards stood watch, the chill biting softly at his skin. His breath came out in little clouds as he stepped out into the quiet street, the city still waking up around him. He kept moving, the cold air sharp and fresh, but his mind kept pulling him toward a single thought. He needed to see one of his customers again, maybe find a way to get some work or help. When he reached the customer's place, Chimma greeted him carefully, trying to sound casual. "How far na? How you day?" But before Chimma could say more, the customer's face tightened and he cut straight to the point. "Your Uncle Danyan me some torai. He talk say you days steal goods and money from him shop, that you carry the goods run. He talk say police even catch you. He no be only am, your coworkers confirm am join. I no fit keep thief for here." Chimma felt a heavy weight settle in his chest, but he held his ground. "No be true at all. Na lie. Fake news dem day spread, he replied, his voice steady but desperate for the truth to be heard. The customer looked at him skeptically, doubt clouding his eyes. Seeing no chance to change his mind, Chimma nodded silently and turned away. The noise and life of Lagos buzzed all around him, but inside, Chimma felt worn and tired. By the time evening came around 5 o'clock, he ran into a familiar face, a homeless boy he'd known for years and often helped when he could. The boy's face lit up immediately, and he ran to meet him with a wide smile. "Big man, Chamo. How you day? I never see you since," the boy called out, excitement clear in his voice. Chimma gave a tired smile back. "Yes-o, Idante. I just returned from village." They slipped away to a quiet corner, away from the prying eyes and ears of the city. There, Chimma shared the true story, the real struggles between him and his uncle, the betrayal, the hardship. The boy listened closely, then asked gently, "So, how your side be now where you don come back?" Chimma's voice grew softer, heavy with the weight of his journey. "I day homeless. I day sleep anywhere way I fit find. My friends turn their back after dem believe the lie way Uncle Day spread. I never hear from am. He day okay, but me I day alone." The boy nodded, understanding clear in his eyes. "I sabi you, Chimma. You no be thief. Now all I dem talk. I sabi who you be." Then the boy hesitated, trying to be careful with his words. "I day sleep for bet 9 ja shop for night. Even after work, place stay busy and noisy. I go find corner, put hand for lap, rest head so. I no sure say you go like am, since you big man, but if you want, you fit follow me." Chimma chuckled softly, touched by the kindness. "I fit manage am for now. You better pass today outside where I no sabi anybody. Dem fit harass me." The boy smiled, relieved to hear it. "Correct. We go day look out for each other. When you get money, you fit rent house, start fresh." As the night grew deeper, around 11 o'clock, they made their way to the Bet 9 Ja shop. Inside, under the dim glow of closing lights, Chimma sat down beside the boy. He leaned back gently against the boy's shoulder, the small comfort of companionship easing the chill around them. The boy settled on Chimma's other side. Side by side, they closed their eyes, the noise of Lagos fading into a quiet lull. The cold night air still lingered, but in that small, shared space, Chimma found a fragile peace. When dawn came, they woke early, the city already stirring again, both ready to face whatever the new day would bring. On the 4th day after Chimma came back to the city, the morning was sharp with cold, the kind that wakes you up deep inside. He woke up with the boy, and together they stepped out into the quiet street, the city slowly stretching awake around them. The cold air bit at their skin, but there was a quiet strength in their steps. As they walked, the boy looked at Chimma with gentle concern and asked, "Oga, when you go chop today?" It was a simple question, but it carried the weight of hope. Hope that maybe today would be better than yesterday. Chimma shook his head slowly, voice low but steady, "No job for now. But I carry small money from village." There was no shame in his words, only the quiet truth of a man who knew the road ahead would be hard. With the little money they had, they bought akara, bread, and eggs, simple food, but enough to fill the hunger that gnawed deep inside. As they ate, the boy's voice was warm with encouragement. "You sabi conductor work? I dey do am. If you fit, I go find boss for you make you start work." Chimma nodded, the flicker of determination lighting his eyes. "No walla. Since I don't come back from village, anything way I fit do to send money for my brother and mama, I go do." That day, the boy found a conductor job for Chimma. And just like that, Chimma began his new rhythm, calling out the familiar names, Ayaba, Ayaba, Lagos, Ayaba, walking the long roads with a heart heavy but steady. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The weight of tired legs, the sting of cold mornings, the loneliness of the city's hum, all became a part of Chimma's story. He worked quietly, steadily for 1 full year. After that year, Chimma began to save money. Small, careful steps toward a dream. The dream of a house to call his own in Lagos. Though the walls hadn't risen yet and the keys were still out of reach, Chimma's spirit was unbroken. He was building something, Slowly but surely, a life for himself, for his brother, for his mother. And in that quiet, determined saving, there was hope. Hope that no matter how long the night, the morning always comes. The rent was 550,000 Nigerian nairas, a big number that felt like a mountain, but Chimma wasn't ready to give up. Every day, he went to work with his driver. Sometimes, when money was tight, he would spend what he had just to eat and keep going. Other days, if he had enough, he handed over small amounts to his driver to save for him. With the help of his smartphone, he sent the saved money to his bank account bit by bit, building slowly but surely. Months passed. 6 months into this new saving grind, Chimma had managed to put together 500,000 Nigerian nairas. Almost there, but still needing that last 50,000 Nigerian nairas to cross the finish line. Still, Chimma didn't have a house. Neither did the boy who had been with him through thick and thin. After long days of work, when night came deep, around 11, 12, sometimes even 1 in the morning, they would make their way to the Bet9 shop. It was noisy, always busy even late at night, and sometimes the cashier would throw insults their way. But that was the only shelter they had. So there they would sleep, side by side on cold floors, surrounded by the hum of the city and the flicker of neon lights. It wasn't home, but it was refuge. Through all the noise and discomfort, Chimma held on to the hope that soon, very soon, he would open the door to a place he could finally call his own. Chimma was walking down from where he had gone to buy fuel because their bus had run out of fuel and the passengers were waiting impatiently. The drivers were waiting too, tense and restless. The driver had sent Chimma to buy fuel, and now he was making his way back along the dusty Lagos-Ibadan expressway. As he walked, the sun beat down hard, making the air thick and heavy. Suddenly, a loud roar tore through the quiet, the unmistakable sound of a speeding bus. Chimma looked up just in time to see an 18-seater public bus hurtling down the road at a dangerous speed. The bus swerved sharply, its tires screeching against the asphalt. Then, like a heavy beast losing control, it tumbled violently and fell hard onto its side by the roadside bush. People who saw the accident froze for a moment before rushing out of the bus. Passengers, the driver, anyone nearby. The motors and vehicles passing by screeched to a halt, and their drivers jumped out, joining the growing crowd. Shock and fear painted every face. Some were crying uncontrollably. Others shouted, "Jesus! Jesus!" as they tried to grasp the horror before them. When the crowd reached the wreck, the grim truth became clear. Because the bus had tumbled so heavily at such high speed, nearly all the passengers inside were dead. The silence was heavy and suffocating. But through the stillness, a faint, slow breath, a weak cough, caught Chimma's attention. One girl was still alive, barely breathing, seriously injured and clinging to life. Fear spread through the crowd. No one dared to go near the girl. Whispers of police investigations, hospital bills, and the trouble that would come with helping kept them frozen. They wanted to help but were paralyzed by the risk. But Chimma was different. His heart pounded with urgency and courage. He ran to find his own driver, who was standing nearby, watching the scene unfold. "Come, help me carry this girl," Chimma urged. The driver's face twisted with fear. "No, I can't," he said, shaking his head. "I don't want to get involved. No police case, no hospital bills, no trouble." Chimma's chest tightened, but he refused to back down. Without hesitation, he lifted the fragile girl onto his shoulder, feeling the weight of her life in his arms. As he turned to find help, he spotted a KK man sitting quietly inside his tricycle, still watching the accident unfold, but not moving. Chimma ran toward the KK, gently placed the girl inside, and told the driver, "Take her to the closest hospital, quickly." The KK driver nodded solemnly, started the engine, and sped off down the dusty road, carrying the last hope from a tragic crash. The KK sped toward the hospital, dust swirling in its wake as Chimma sat inside, cradling the lifeless girl. Her skin was pale, stained with blood that seeped through her torn clothes. Chimma's hands trembled as he gently laid her fragile head on his lap, whispering desperate prayers for her survival. When they reached the hospital gate, Chimma turned to the KK driver. "Come back to the back seat. Place her on your lap and hold on tight to her, he instructed urgently. Chimma burst out of the vehicle and rushed into the emergency hall, shouting with all his might, "Someone is dying! Someone is dying! Please come and help!" Nurses and emergency staff rushed outside, their eyes widening at the sight of the bleeding girl. Chimma carefully lifted her with both hands and brought her forward, pleading desperately for help. But cold, harsh voices met him. "We don't know her. We can't admit her without a deposit," the nurses said. "Are you related to her? Do you have the money?" No deposit, no treatment. Frustration and heartbreak welled up in Chimma's chest. "How can you be so callous? This is a human life. Why won't you help her?" he cried out. The girl's blood seeped faster now, soaking Chimma's hands. The weight of her fading life pressed down on him. The nurses added, "Her relatives must sign documents. If she dies while still breathing, they must sign for her life." With no other choice, Chimma carefully laid her back inside the KK and paced anxiously. After pleading and trying to convince the hospital staff to treat her, all efforts failed. He turned to the KK driver. "Go to another hospital. We can't wait here." His voice rose again, furious and desperate. "Please, somebody, anyone, help her." Just then, a doctor stepped out from the emergency room, drawn by Chimma's alarmed cries. "What's going on? Who's shouting?" the doctor asked sharply. Chimma's voice cracked as he explained the accident, how everyone else had died except this girl, and how he was fighting to save her. The doctor's expression softened with compassion. "I've heard about the accident," he said quietly. "Human life matters." He motioned for Chimma to follow him aside. "We need an initial deposit of 200,000 naira. Do you have that?" Without hesitation, Chimma pulled out his phone, hands shaking as he transferred the money he'd been saving, a flicker of hope amid despair. The doctor turned back to the nurses. "Take her inside. Start treatment immediately." The nurses sprang into action, rushing the girl through the emergency room doors. Chimma stood back, heart pounding, eyes fixed on the door as hope flickered faintly within him. The fight to save her fragile life had begun. Chimma sat on the cold bench by the hospital wall, right outside the emergency treatment area, where doctors and nurses raced to save lives. The air was thick with tension. Nurses hurried back and forth carrying blood, medicines, and supplies, while doctors spoke in urgent, clipped tones. The beeping of machines cut through the noise, each pulse matching Chimma's pounding heart. Hours passed in that endless rhythm of motion, but no one came to tell him anything. He watched every move, waiting for news. Hope and fear tangled tight inside him. Then, just before 6 o'clock in the morning, the doctor stepped out with a calm he hadn't shown before. "She will be okay very soon," the doctor said quietly to Chimma. Moments later, the girl was carefully brought out on a stretcher. Though still unconscious, hooked to drips and monitors, she was moved from the emergency treatment area to the general ward, a place where patients stay once the urgent danger has passed. Chimma stayed close, sitting quietly by her side in the general ward, the weight of her fragile life resting heavy on his heart. He waited for the moment she would open her eyes. In the dimly lit hospital ward, Chimma sat quietly by the girl's bedside, his eyes flicking between her pale face and the steady beep of the monitor. The past week had been a blur of worry and silent questions. He knew the girl, but not her story, not where she came from, not her last name, not even her phone number. She had never told him much, and now she couldn't speak at all. Desperate for answers, Chimma had left the hospital that morning and gone back to the scene of the accident. He asked around, hoping someone would recognize her. A few people came to the hospital to see her face, but one by one, they all shook their heads. Nobody knew her. Back in the ward, Chimma made a quiet promise to the nurses. Whatever bills the girl needed to pay, he would handle it. Even though he was already carrying the weight of his family, sending money to support his sick mother and younger brother back in the village, he still opened his hands for one more person. The money he had been saving for his house rent was slowly draining. With so much already on his shoulders, he found himself dipping into it just to keep up, just to save her. But somehow he didn't regret it. There was peace in knowing he was helping her live. Every evening after work, he returned to the hospital. He'd sit beside her through the night, sometimes dozing off in the chair, always alert to the rise and fall of her chest. The nurses began to notice it wasn't just kindness anymore. He had become like a brother to her. For a whole week, she remained unable to speak. But Chimma never left her side. He was waiting for that one moment, the flicker of her eyes, the sound of her voice, that would tell him she had found her way back. The clock struck 2 a.m. inside the dimly lit hospital ward. The faint hum of fluorescent lights blended with the soft beeping of the heart monitor beside the girl's bed. Clear tubes ran from the drip stand into her arm, delivering a steady flow of life-saving fluid. The scent of antiseptic hung in the cool night air, and the only movement was the slow rise and fall of the girl's chest. Chimma sat in a chair beside her bed, his head resting on his hand, which lay gently on the edge of the mattress. His body was tired, but his spirit refused to sleep too deeply, just in case she woke up. Suddenly, a faint sound broke through the silence. The girl stirred. Chimma's eyes flew open. He sat up, staring at her face. Her eyelids fluttered, then opened slowly. Her lips moved. "I need water," she whispered. Chimma's heart leapt. He quickly reached for the nurse's call button. Moments later, the nurse entered with a glass of water. With gentle support, she helped the girl drink. After a few sips, the girl looked around, her eyes confused. Her voice trembled. "Where am I?" Chimma leaned forward, his voice calm and soft. "You were in an accident. You've been unconscious for days. You've been here in the hospital. This is the general ward. The doctors worked hard to save you, and you made it." The girl blinked slowly, absorbing the words like someone piecing together a forgotten dream. Her body was weak, but something in her eyes had returned awareness. As night gave way to dawn, the light in the room grew warmer. The girl's strength had improved. Her voice, once a whisper, now carried more weight. "Thank you," she said softly, her gaze locking onto Chimma's. "Thank you for saving me." Chimma smiled gently, then leaned forward. "I didn't know you," he said, voice filled with quiet honesty. "I just saw you after the accident and couldn't walk away. I stayed until help came, and I followed you here. The doctors needed someone to speak for you, so I did, but I didn't even know your name." He paused, remembering. "I went back to the accident scene, hoping someone there might recognize you. I asked everyone I could find, but they all said the same thing. We don't know her. You had no phone on you, no ID, no one to contact. It was like you were just lost." He took a breath, his eyes steady on hers. "So I made up my mind. I told the nurses I'd handle anything that came up. I couldn't leave you alone like that." The girl's eyes welled with tears. Her lips trembled as emotion overtook her. She reached for his hand weakly, holding it with fragile fingers. "Thank you," she whispered again, her voice cracking. "Thank you for everything. I don't know why you did it, but I appreciate you. Deeply." Chimma simply nodded, his silence speaking louder than words. "My name is Ada," she said. "My parents live in Umuel. I can tell you how to find them." Chimma nodded, a quiet sense of relief blooming in his chest. He turned to the nurse. "Please take good care of her. I'll be back soon." With a final look at Ada, now conscious and safe, Chimma stepped out into the early morning light, ready to find her family and bring them the news they had no idea they'd been waiting for. Chimma stood in front of the massive mansion, staring like he was lost. He checked the address Ada had given him again. It matched the one on the elegant gate in front of him. But this place? This spotless, multi-story, estate-like home? It didn't feel possible. He walked past it slowly, doubting himself. Maybe it was the wrong number. Maybe she misspoke. He circled the block, came back again, rechecked the address. Still the same. He stepped across the street and asked a man standing by a kiosk. "Please, I'm looking for this address," he said. The man looked at the paper, then pointed without hesitation. "That's the one there." Chimma blinked, stunned. "That one?" "Yes, that big house." Chimma returned slowly, still unsure, and approached the security gate. The gate man looked up. "Good afternoon," Chimma greeted politely. "I'm looking for this address." "This is the address," the gate man replied. Chimma hesitated, then took a deep breath. "There's a girl. She had an accident over a week ago. I found her and took her to the hospital. She was unconscious all this while, no phone, no ID, nothing. She just woke up today and gave me this address." The gate man squinted. What is her name? Chimma replied softly, Ada. The moment he said it, the gate man's eyes widened, and without another word, he turned and ran into the compound at full speed. Chimma stood there confused and tense. Inside the mansion, the gate man burst through the doors shouting, Madam, Madam, they found Ada. That was all it took. The woman shot up from the couch, eyes already filled with tears, not needing another explanation. She rushed outside, her hands trembling. As soon as she saw Chimma at the gate, standing humbly in his dusty shirt and tired eyes, she broke into sobs. You found her?" she asked. Chimma nodded. "Please, take me to her now." In moments, a stunning black Mercedes Maybach S-Class glided out of the compound, followed closely by a convoy of 5 luxury escort cars, engines humming like silent lions. Chimma had never been in a car like this in his life, but he wasn't thinking about that. He was thinking about Ada. He stepped in beside the crying woman, and together they sped off toward the hospital, toward a reunion Chimma would never forget. "Have told you so many times, don't go out alone without escorts, but you always refuse." Ada sat up gently, her voice quiet but firm. "Mummy, I have my own life to live. You can't control everything I do." The mother turned to Chimma with tears in her eyes. "You see, this is a very rich and big family. She comes from a home where everything is provided, but she always insists on walking alone. That day, she said she was going to visit her friend in Ibadan. I told her to take an escort, but she refused." The father picked up the story, voice heavy with grief. She entered a Peace Mass transit bus, but on the Lagos-Ibadan expressway, the bus had a fatal accident. The scene was terrible. All passengers were reported dead. He paused and shook his head slowly. "We went to the accident scene ourselves. It was devastating." The mother wiped her eyes and added, voice trembling, "We searched every hospital we could, hoping maybe someone survived. We even went to the police station and filed a missing person report. They helped us search, but there was no good answer." The parents never found her earlier because Chimma took her to a small hospital, one that was less known and less noticed by many people. That is why no one knew where she was for so long. She gripped her daughter's hand more tightly, eyes filled with pain. "She is our only child, our only daughter." Then the father turned to Chimma, his voice now softer. "We didn't know what else to do. We were broken." He looked directly at Chimma with heartfelt gratitude. "Until you brought us the good news, that she was alive." The mother nodded gently, her voice breaking. "We are truly grateful. You've given us back our daughter." His name was Chief Philip Okonkwo, the Minister of Finance of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a powerful man, known by many across the country, but very few knew the pain he carried deep inside. That night, he stood alone on the hospital veranda, a long open space outside the ward with bright white lights on the walls. From where he stood, he could see the main road clearly. Cars passed by slowly and the air was calm. In front of him, his escort cars were lined up like soldiers. They were black, shiny, and guarded by men in suits, holding walkie-talkies. Chief Philip had his hands behind his back, lost in deep thought. He had not slept well since his daughter was rushed into the hospital 1 week ago. For 2 days now she had been awake, talking, smiling, and getting stronger. But Chief Philip's heart was still heavy with thoughts. Just then, one of his bodyguards walked quickly to him and bent down to whisper something in his ear. The chief nodded slowly, then waved the guard back. A few seconds passed. He turned again and called out, "Call that boy. Chimma, bring him to me." The bodyguard walked away and returned shortly with Chimma, quiet, humble, looking surprised. He walked close, then bowed slightly and said, "Good evening, sir." The chief nodded. "Good evening, my son. Sit down." Chimma sat gently on the bench beside him. The chief sat too. His voice was calm. "I want to thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart. You saved my daughter, someone you didn't even know. You took a risk that many would run away from. People like you are very rare." Chimma looked down. "I just did what I could, sir." "I want to know more about you," the man said. "Who are you?" Chimma looked up slowly. "My name is Chimma. I'm a bus conductor, sir." The minister was surprised. "Just a conductor? You mean you collect money and shout bus stops?" Chimma nodded. Yes, sir. The minister stared at him, shocked. But do you have any skill? Have you learned any work before? Chimma replied calmly, Yes, sir. I learned how to sell electronics. Generator, TV, refrigerator, sound system, and all. I did it for 7 years, sir. I'm very good at it. The chief was silent for a moment. His eyes widened. 7 years? So what happened? Why are you not doing the business? Chimma sighed. My uncle was supposed to settle me after the training, but he didn't. He set me up with police. That's why I'm here. The chief turned his face and shook his head slowly. That's wickedness. There was a quiet moment. Then he turned back to Chimma, softer now. His voice dropped. Do you know something? I've been hiding a secret in my heart for years. Chimma looked up at him. I have only one child. My daughter. I prayed for a son. I begged God for a son to carry my name, my legacy, but God gave me Ada alone. I love her so much. But since you came into our lives, I've started seeing you like family, like the son I never had. Chimma looked confused. The man smiled gently. Would you like to become a part of my family? Chimma was silent for a moment. I don't know yet, sir. I'll think about it. The minister smiled. It's okay. Think about it. But before you go, I want you to do something for me. Go and find out the full cost of opening a big electronic shop. The best one. Since you are a professional, you'll know what is needed. Come back and tell me. Chimma's eyes grew wide. I'll help you start the business, the chief said. Properly. Chimma's heart jumped. He stood up, then knelt down right there. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. God bless you, sir. I don't even know what to say. Thank you, sir. The chief laughed, for the first time in days. A deep, joyful laugh. It's okay. Stand up. You deserve it. Chimma stood up, still smiling, his eyes shining. He bowed again and began to walk away, still looking back with gratitude. The chief watched him go, still smiling to himself. The night air was cool and still as Chimma walked away from the hospital veranda, his heart pounding with something he hadn't felt in a long time. Real hope. As soon as he stepped away from the light, he pulled out his small phone and dialed a number he had memorized by heart. It rang once, twice. Hello, his mother's soft voice came through. Mama, Chimma said, trying to hold back the joy in his voice. Mama, something has happened. Her voice sharpened with concern. Chimma, are you okay? What happened? He smiled wide. Mama, I met a big man today. A real big man. A billionaire. He told me he wants to help me open my own electronics shop, a big one, Mama. He asked me to go and find out how much everything will cost. There was silence, then a deep, shaky breath. Jesus, Jesus, is this my son speaking? Yes, Mama. It's me. My God, she shouted, her voice cracking with tears. Chakuadaluo, this is the moment I've prayed for. Every day I said, God, bless my son. Remember, Chimma. And now, you're telling me he has done it. Chimma laughed, his own eyes misty. Mama, the man is even treating me like family. He said I remind him of the son he never had. Mama, everything is changing. His mother sobbed softly on the other end. Chimma, my heart is dancing. I feel like I can fly. God has not forgotten us. This is the beginning, my son. Yes, Mama, this is the beginning, Chimma said quietly. Get ready. Very soon I will come home. I will be waiting, she said. We will dance, we will thank God. Tell that man that my spirit will pray for him every day. I will, Mama. I love you. I love you too, my son. The line went silent, but the joy remained thick in the air. This story reminds us, no matter how low life pushes you, God is still watching. Don't let your pain break your values. Stay faithful, stay honest, stay true. Blessings await those who don't give in.